So, hi campers. I'm going to do a quick vlog because I've just been reading the Prince Harry and Mirror Group news and just really angry that my name has appeared, that Andrew Green has said that, oh, we didn't do any phone hacking. They've told Fiona Whiteman that that I rang her gynecologist, I believe. There was paperwork to prove it. Well, since I have absolutely no recall, and I've heard from an insider that there isn't paperwork to say I did that. Actually, there is invoicing around that time, but I had work from the Sunday Mirror every single week because they couldn't stand up any of their stories. They needed to ask me. And all this crap about, oh, my speciality was ringing GP's offices. I absolutely wouldn't do it, not because I'm a moral giant, but because calls are recorded to such places. Now, they're using me to cover up phone hacking. I would know because I'm the one who brought in the phone hacker. He was my lover. Now, he is a multi-millionaire. Okay, he lives out in Peasmarsh. I've said his name before. He is being protected. Everybody's shit scared of him. Even Operation Wheating, whom I helped, and who I had a guard, I had a cop literally watch over me. They thought I was going to be murdered. DS Michael White. I've all the paperwork from that. And eventually, when they all pleaded guilty, there wasn't a trial. So there wasn't a phone hacking trial. Had there have been a phone hacking trial, it would have come out about John. But it hasn't come out. Now, I brought him into the news of the world when Jonathan Rees got put into prison. I had they were putting lots and lots of work on me. I had a panic attack. I thought it was a heart attack. I said to them, I know somebody that does this kind of phone work that you want. And I brought in, I didn't know he did the phone hacking. I brought him in. Now, he thought, oh, hang on. I mean, this is a very moneyed up individual. He lives on an estate, literally. He even has a vineyard. When Operation Wheating went to see him, they came back to me to sign my 60-page statement, and they said to me, how much is that worth, that place? I said, I don't know, 10 million? And this was back in 2009. So it will have doubled, maybe tripled since then. So this is this individual that nobody speaks about. Now, I brought him into the news of the world. He scented money, and he was charging them, I think, £1,000 every time they hacked somebody. I found this out later. And then he, smelling money, wanted to work in other places. All this is great. I'm not just going to work for the news of the world. There's a whole Fleet Street out there. So despite me and he being lovers over a long period of time, I guess you could call it mistress, he hacked my phone. Now, I remember this exactly. Now, I'm talking in retrospect because I didn't know what he was doing. And at the time, I didn't know how lethal he would be in Fleet Street. He's literally caused all this. His unutterable greed. They used to call him in the business Goldfinger because of his greed. But he had an ability, not as a private investigator, but as a middleman. And he worked for all the ex-MI6 agencies, the ex-MI5 agencies that are big in London. No part of the England do they thrive apart from London. And obviously in Israel, you have Black Cube, Prevail, all these military kind of operations. He worked for those, including Company X, which is Michael Oakley's company that I actually worked for as well, and who were observing the news of the world. They had them under surveillance. They called me in on a dummy job, surveillance, which Sean Moss from the BBC is my speciality. surveillance, okay? Nothing to do with what the press asks you to do, which is just pathetic. It's absolutely pathetic to do little calls in to the Priory and to people's GPs. Firstly, it's recorded. Secondly, it doesn't work. Okay, it doesn't work at all. But all these little girlies were doing it around the office. They asked me to do it. I didn't do it. I thought, nah. But since they get nasty when you don't do things, I would say, yeah, you're right on your tip. Or no, you're right, you're wrong. Because they always knew anyway. But believing that I'd done this, the little girlies in the office started to do it. They didn't want me knowing their stories. They knew that I was busy hanging out with Greg Miskew. So do you think the Sunday Mirror wanted to give me all what they thought was a top story? Oh, fuck no. They give me the little shit to work on because they thought it'd be leaked to the News of the World. Going back to Boyle, after I introduced him to News of the World, he came around my house, we made love, and he said to me, oh, Christine, can I have your mobile? Now, it was always our way to meet up, go out to dinner, make love, and then we wouldn't see each other for 6 months. And I thought, hang on, why is he asking for my mobile? He's got my landline. The mobile, that was less intimate than someone's home phone. And hang on, we're not going to see each other now for a little while. Why is he asking for my mobile? And I remember feeling a sense of like my gut turning. I gave him my mobile and he hacked me. And what he did, he found out who else I was working for. Now, I came into Fleet Street because of a boyfriend. I had been private investigator working for the ex-MI6 companies. I worked for ex-CID officers, Roger Cleckley, Ken Owood, and I was big in the business and very well respected. My speciality was surveillance and undercover work, which I've been doing since I was a teenager, and I was pretty renowned for doing it. Everybody said, don't work for the press, they're scumbags. They used to turn over investigators, and the ones I worked for wouldn't touch them with an absolute barge pole. I started working for them. I was writing to the Moors murder, Ian Brady, and Phil Hall came along. And Phil Hall made me a front page story. We ended up lovers, and he was like, you should come and be a journalist. So I thought, I don't want to be a private investigator anymore. I want to be a journalist. And so I went into his world, little understanding or knowing that when a girl comes into their world, they're just going to be used. And I was used, abused. I was made work as a stripper. I was made to get in cars with rapists. I was nearly stabbed. All this kind of stuff. I was made to seduce a soldier into taking drugs with me. All this kind of stuff. I didn't sit at home ringing a GP's bloody offices. This is all Graham Johnson. He believes, and he said to me, this is his plan. He said, if I can smear you as doing that, then I can get at the Mail because the Mail used you as their investigator. If I can smear you as that, then I can say the period of 10 years you worked for the Mail, I can say any celebrity who was sick or pregnant, I can put that down to you. I can say that that was you if there was an invoice near that time. He told me that when he got drunk and lunged at me. So this is a plan, and this is what he's carrying out. But first, you have to smear me with this is what you do. Well, actually, it's not what I do. When I came into Fleet Street, this is what Miskew, I've written about it in my book. This is what Miskew asked me to do. Oh, ring up, check Cheryl Cole's boobs. This was in 1998, I think. And this was the first time I was ever in my entire life. And I've been a private investigator since a teenager. This is the first time anybody ever has asked me anything to do with health or doctors or pregnancies. The very first time. Private investigators out there, they just don't do that kind of thing. This is tabloid territory. And I didn't do it. Didn't want to do it. It was risky. They were like, nah, you'll do it. If you don't do it, you can fuck off out of Fleet Street. Now, I'd already been a front page story. I wasn't going to fuck off out of Fleet Street. So I took to horseshitting them and saying, yes, you're right. They never once asked for proof. Never once asked for proof. So I just didn't bother doing it. Why should I? I don't like being bullied. Fast forward, 2016, Graham Johnson contacts me. Oh, will you help us get the press? I don't give a shit. By that time, phone hacking, John Boyle had gone, after he hacked me to find out who else I'd worked for, he'd gone to the Sunday Mirror. Why? This is the other paper that I work for. Now, he had tried knocking on the door of the Daily Mail. They'd said, no, piss off. Why? Because they're intelligent. Now, there's all this crap, the lies that the Mail were hacking. Oh, yes and no, they weren't. I'm literally a leading authority on the phone hacking because I was the one who brought it in, which is why Operation Wheating had me as star witness until they craftily all pleaded guilty. There was never a phone hacking trial, or the public would know all this. So Boyle went to the Sunday Mirror and the News of the World. The News of the World found out he was phone hacking for Tina Weaver at the Sunday Mirror. I know it for a fact, Tina, dear. So phone hacking there. This was early on. This was in 1998. He started doing that. Now, what happened? This went on for a good period of time until Greg Miskiw found out, and he thought, well, hang on, I don't like this. It's leaking my stories to the Sunday Mirror with Boyle doing this. So they owed Boyle $250,000. Now, this is, I think, only for about 6 months' work. And what they did, they stiffed him and they took his office boy. That office boy was called Glyn Mulcair. Now, see how the story hasn't been told properly? Because everybody thinks that Glyn Mulcair was this phone hacker that brought it into Fleet Street, when he was just really a pretty much of a victim in all this, actually. He was hijacked by Greg. He didn't know, Glyn Mulcair didn't know whether he was on his head or his arse. He was literally a footballer. John had inculcated him, as Operation Wheating said to me. I said, what did you say to John Boyle when you went to his mansion? They said, oh, Mulcair, you taught him all that spy stuff, didn't you? And then left him to it. And I was like, but you're bang on. Nobody's pointing the finger at this guy. So he taught this poor chap all this stuff. This guy didn't know whether it was illegal or his head or his ass. He's a bloody footballer. So Miskiw, sensing a weakness, thought, I know, Boyle has grabbed hold of this guy. He's exploiting the shit out of him. Why don't I just do it? So he cut Boyle out, owed him $250,000, took Mulcair. Everybody knows what happened there. But over at the Sunday Mirror, John Boyle continued working for them. Now, he wouldn't have worked under his own name. He wouldn't have worked under a company name that you can find anywhere. He would have worked under a false name. So nobody's ever going to find that. Fast forward 2016, Graham Johnson approaching me. I handed him my Sunday Mirror remittance advices. Why did I do that? Because I didn't have anything to hide. Now, if I'd have rung Fiona Whiteman's gynecologist, that is 10 years in prison because it's data thieving. It's protected by a Data Protection Act. Now, if you get arrested for it or nicked for it, you go to prison for 10 years. Now, I'm a single mother. If I had gone to prison back then, my son would have gone into care. I grew up in care, okay? Now, they weren't interested in the girls per se, even though I find out the sexual relationship I had with my social worker was him grooming me. I thought we'd fallen in love, but I've just spoke to a lawyer over that. But mostly, these social workers wanted the young boys. They wanted the young boys. So all the boys in care were raped. And I saw what it did to them. It made them suicidal. They didn't know whether they were gay or not. And they became rent boys. People think it's okay to have sex with a rent boy. It's okay, these MPs having sex with rent boys. Go and find a consenting partner. They're sexually abused young boys. It's not okay. Like, it's not okay to have sex with a prostitute. They're sexually abused women. But these people do this and think, oh, it's okay. It's not okay. going back to my point, I don't want to get ribbed by Private Eye for rambling. 2016, I handed them over. I couldn't have handed them over for legal trial if I'd have done something illegal. It's pretty fucking obvious. Therein, I signed a contract with Hart and Evan Harris. Yes, he did give me this Riverside house, rented obviously. But that wasn't bribery. I wasn't bribed. I didn't feel bribed. I wanted to expose them for the phone hacking. I wanted to be a witness. I wanted to do something good. This is a Sunday Mirror we're talking about. The Daily Mail, totally different. They never do anything wrong. Literally, they were too posh to do anything wrong. It amuses me that now there's all this stuff about the Mail, because literally it should be exposed in court, because they didn't do anything wrong. Everyone else, News of the World, The Sun, Sunday Mirror, just up to the most heinous little, just disgusting. The Mail, nothing. Even when they had people they had taken for stories, we used to steal them off them. We used to find out where they were holding people they had for interviews, and we would go along and nick the people off them. They were that posh. They, it was sad, really, the way they behaved. Everybody else was very ruthless, and they were not. So them being dragged into this, it's actually amusing. There should be a court case, because then it can be exposed that they're just too goody two-shoes to ever do bloody anything. I can't wait for that trial. I really can't. Going back to the Sunday Mirror, they never approached me, and I always wondered why. Because the Sun approached me, and I went and met up, and we talked about this, that, and the other. I remembered every single story I worked on, and I explained how I didn't do anything illegal because I had worked for cops, because I'd worked for Army intelligence, and you know what's illegal and what's not illegal. When you work for newspapers, these tabloid hacks, they used to do all sorts, pretending they were from the Home Office, pretending they were police, ringing dole offices, ringing GPs, and they were stupid. They were stupid, not being bitchy. They didn't understand the law. And this is why they got caught with phone hacking. It's illegal. And of course, you're bound to get caught because their messages go into the safe box. And then they would do stories on them. Talk about cruising for a bruising. They're very stupid individuals. And I don't like how it's been turned and blamed on me. Now, the Mirror never asked me to meet up with them, which is pretty see-through that they intended to blame it on me. I contacted Green, I can't remember his second name. I had some interaction with his clerk, and they were like, "Oh no, we don't need you." And I thought, well, hang on though, I'm a witness to all of this, and to the phone hacking. And the phone hacker did work for you guys. And I thought they'd want to get to the truth. No, they don't want to get to the truth. They don't want to pay out. I'm sorry, and I don't know if this is putting me in danger by saying it, but I have proof that you, the Sunday Mirror, were up to your balls in phone hacking. And I happen to know that John, who brought the phone hacking to you, is dying. He's dying of cancer, and he might talk. Now, if he talks, you people have had it. You literally have had it. You've lied to Prince Harry about, well, we weren't hacking. Oh, you were hacking. You absolutely were, because John bought you it, just the same as he brought it to the News of the World. Now, if that had been all fleshed out and explained to the poor judge, who probably doesn't know whether he's on his head or his ass, because everybody's lying to each other, then it would have been put out. Now, I would have kept quiet about this, but I've just read today, and the BBC, now the BBC, this guy works for the BBC, Sean Moss, apparently the associate editor online, but I've been told by a barrister friend of mine that he's in a very lowly position at the BBC. He sent me a really cheeky letter. I said, you can't say online that I rang Fiona Whiteman's vagina doctor when I absolutely didn't. And you're saying, oh, that's my speciality to check on things like that, when look in the back of Nick Davies from The Guardian, his book, Hack. If you look at it, I think that's his book, or is it Hack Attack? I get confused. I think it's Hack. Look in the back, and there's a list of private investigators and what they do. My speciality, as reported by Nick Davies, and he is a good journalist, says human. Okay, human. I'm good at human because I happen to be a spiritual medium, happen to be a psychic, and I used that in my job, which is why I was good at it. It wasn't my brain, it was that. Human. And one thing I do know is the rules. I don't break the law because I don't want to go to prison. And there was enough money sloshing around that you didn't need to break the law. Why would I break the law for a couple of £100 when I'm being paid £1,000 a week? You just didn't need to. Plus that, they never checked. So they'd ask you to break the law, but they would never check. So why bother doing it for those scumbags? I certainly didn't. I don't even like being asked to break the law. So I get some journalists say, oh, break the law for me, scumbag. Yeah, okay, then there you are. Broke the law for you. Meet their eyes and think, fuck off, arsehole. As if I'd fucking do that for them. Fuck off. I really highly resent being blamed for it just to cover up phone hacking. And I read that Green, is it Green? Andrew Green, I believe, the barrister said to Fiona Whiteman, is that her name? Whiteman? That she doesn't deserve a payout because she hasn't been phone hacked. Apparently it was all me. No. Firstly, it would have been John Boyle there. I've said his name. Secondly, you would have hacked her phone. How? Okay, you're saying that I made calls to her vagina doctor. Well, how would I know where this vagina doctor is? How? Huh? How? Out of thin air? No. What happened? You hacked her phone. You found out the name of a private doctor. And then you've got some silly tabloid hack to make a silly call, which you fucked up. But then you didn't need to make that silly call because you had it all along. And then you went and doorstepped her. That's what happened. That's exactly what happened. But you're lying to her. You're it was an outsider with nothing to do with us, and you're fudging the waters. And Graham Johnson loves to fudge the waters because all he cares about is getting the Daily Mail. That's his target. So he wants to smear me as this person. Sean Moss in the BBC Online, he'll say, oh, Christine, she did that. That's what you do. And then when it comes to dealing with the Daily Mail, well, why are you hiring Christine Hart? Isn't she that one that does that? Very clever. But you know what? You'll fuck up in it completely. There's proof of my bylines in the Sunday Times. So is it my speciality to get close to the real IRA as well? Can't have two specialities, can you? Huh? And is it my speciality to get invited into the cages of serial killers? Is that my speciality too? Is it my speciality, the UDA? Because there's a byline in the Sunday Times about that. Yeah? Is that my speciality? Yeah? Because you just look absolute creeps. You look like what you are, liars. I'm a published author at Hodder and Stoughton. I've sold, 200,000 copies? It's been translated into other languages? Is that my speciality? Is that it? You're a fucking shower of shit. And I believe working hand in glove with the Sunday Mirror because it protects the Sunday Mirror from making phone hacking payouts. If they can blame some schmuck, me, I'm the schmuck. But do you know what? And I'm going to end it here because I've got the very important smoking gun, because actually in between telling Sean Moss to say about me, you're forgetting one really important thing. I'm a journalist, yeah? And this to me is a story. And it's a story I'm going to tell, yeah? With all your bullshit, about me and this, gosh, this laptop, I can't even afford a decent laptop. This is how they've tied me up. I am not taking this one. I've taken a lot of slaps. There was a Sienna Miller horseshit. I didn't even know whether I was on my head or my ass, what was going on. The BBC were treating me like I was in Guantanamo Bay and I was Osama bin Laden. And then I didn't think this call had taken place. So, I mean, they didn't even ask me to. I only came in later, like, after Miller hadn't had a termination. I was telling this to the BBC. Now, listen, people that do criminal things or break data protection act, they don't hang out with James Hanning or Graham Johnson. They don't hang out in the Ivy with them because they just don't. They wouldn't. They got something to hide. I don't have anything to hide. Why did I allow the BBC to interview me twice? Because I haven't got anything to hide. And I was interrogated by this guy, James Newton. I felt like I was in Guantanamo Bay. He drove me crazy. I had a breakdown over it. And then later, I phoned someone from The Sun just to tell them off over something or other. Anyway, they got back to me. They thought I was contacting them on a friendly basis. It was odd, but I wasn't. And they said to me, oh, we're so sorry, you know what, everyone's talking about it, what you went through with the Sienna Miller thing. I went, what? And they said, yeah, everyone knew it was Susie from TDI. We really feel for you. And I'm like, what? Somebody actually did that? So somebody actually did that. I was unaware that they'd done that. And everybody knew, apart from me. And apparently James Newton, now that isn't a proper journalist that just gets an idea in their head and that must have been you. And this is happening again with that Fiona Whiteman. And it's courtesy of Graham Johnson. Now, if you read The Spectator today, it'll explain Johnson and how he operates. He put a 14-year-old boy, they left out the fact the 14-year-old boy went to prison for carrying a gun, yet Johnson gave him the gun, yeah? So that's been reported now in The Spectator today. What they left out, the kid went to prison for 5 years. That boy is still in prison. I've written letters to him back and fro. Now, the BBC colluded in that, yeah? So Johnson does this, is what he does. He did the Beast of Bodmin Moor. If you read The Spectator, then Lazarus has explained it. He is literally, I don't know, he's a very unusual man in some kind of way. If I wasn't a victim of him, I might even find it attractive. It's bizarre. He literally makes up things and then he sticks to it as if it's reality. And he's done this with me, with my persona and with my achievements. Oh, you did that. That's you. That's your speciality. When I'm fucking achieved, I'm fucking intelligent. And at one point, every editor on every newspaper in Fleet Street had to come to me when they wanted to know different things, such as the name of Bignell when he was beheaded by ISIS. All these different things, and my reputation was gold. Now, Johnson's nose was put out of joint because he was supposed to be an investigative reporter. So he enjoys smearing shit on me, like the Beast of Bodmin Moor, when he was told to take a photograph of Beast of Bodmin Moor, and he took Nancy, a puma, in the nearby zoo, and let Rebecca Brooks go ahead and print the newspaper. And then the zoo owner said, that's my Nancy there. He carried that off. He met Rebecca Brooks' eyes. The newspaper went out. Who can do that? I mean, it takes a special person. But he's doing that same game on me, and I'm not having it. Now, the Sunday Mirror are colluding with that by, oh, this is Christine Hart. She did this. There was no phone hacking. Fiona Whiteman doesn't deserve a payout. Well, sorry, she does deserve a payout because her phone was hacked. Now, if you include the story of John Boyle, that's how you know that the Sunday Mirror were phone hacking, because he brought it in there. Now, he might speak. I'm going to be contacting him through someone else. He's dying of cancer. He might speak out about you, Sunday Mirror. Yeah? Yeah? So, he brought it in to Tina Weaver. Tina was absolutely excited about it, and that was it. It was in with the Sunday Mirror. Nowhere else. He got kicked out, and then, of course, he jumped over to the Sun. The papers that I was working for, because how he got in was through me. Okay? And everyone has left that story out. Even Nick Davies has left it out. Why? Because nobody wants to mention John Boyle. Well, why hasn't the man who brought phone hacking into Fleet Street, why hasn't he been mentioned? Why? I mean, I know for a fact film companies have gone down to his antique shop. I know for a fact an ex-BBC woman tried to make a documentary about him, got a kickback. I asked her why. She said he's linked with top cops. He knows top cops. He won't be touched. He won't be mentioned. So everyone's trying to tell the story of this, and the victim is Fiona Whiteman not getting a proper payout because you're like, oh, that was Christine. She just made a couple of calls on you. No, you phone hacked her, or how else would you know where she was going to get her bits looked at? You fucking liars. I just want to remind Sunday Mirror as well, when I worked there, they were asking me to do all these illegal calls that, according to Graham Johnson, that I did. Now, I was still in with ex-MI6 officers, ex-cops, still working for them. I can show you. In fact, I might make it the picture on this, on this vlog. I had an advert in Yellow Pages. I was also doing private military work at the same time, and I was still working for these agencies, an Israeli agency. Also, I'm a really good investigator. That's why this has ruined me, the Graham Johnson effect, and now the Sunday Mirror taking up the baton. They asked me when I came to do all sorts of stuff. Can you hack emails? Would you mind doing this? Oh, you're getting treatment at the Priory. Would you mind looking round for Liz Hurley? Well, actually, I would mind doing all those things. Oh, someone's pregnant. Would you mind ringing their GPs? Well, actually, I would mind doing that. It's illegal. Looking round the Priory for Liz Hurley, not illegal, but I'm not going to do that. I like Liz Hurley. So this is what they ask. I didn't sit there making myself lower than these individuals, these spotty-ass individuals, and, oh, okay, I'll do that for you. Fuck off, did I? Fuck off. Anyway, what they got stuck into doing was phone hacking. This is how they knew where that woman, Fiona Whiteman, was going, or how else would they know that? Oh, were they saying I found it out? Well, how would you find that out? The only way you can find that out is by hacking someone's phone. So you raped this woman, Fiona Whiteman, in so many ways. Now you're getting the BBC to minimise it. Now you're denying it. Just pay her what you fucking owe her. You know what? If you don't pay her what you owe her, I'll release tapes. Now, someone told me, I'm going back to the point I made. Someone said to me, when they asked you, because it was the editors too, Paul Connew, not mention any names, I won't mention names, but all the editors. I work for the editors, not the journalists. Anyway, the editors of the Sunday Mirror, people said to me, oh, they're asking you to do illegal things. Tape them when they ask you. So I did, as protection, in case a day like this ever happened. And I've still got those. Not on my home address, no point coming around doing another burglary, boys. They're with another investigator, and they have them. And if this carries on with me getting the blame and you people not taking the blame and shirking your responsibility, shirking your payouts to victims like Fiona Whiteman and blaming fucking me, then I will release the tapes. Now, there's a lot on those tapes. There's John Major. Think back. Think about John Major. Yeah. Think Sarah Ferguson. Think Britney Spears. Yeah, all those things. And you'll be paying them a lot of money. Now, I'm not making threats. I'm just really sick of what's going on right now. And I'm really shocked the Sunday Mirror haven't owned up to John Boyle. Because the only reason that the News of the World stopped using John Boyle is because he was working for the Sunday Mirror as well. And that is why they nicked his office boy, Glyn Mulcair. They put him under contract and they're like, okay, John, fuck off, work for the Sunday Mirror then, but we've got your office boy, which is why John Boyle then rang his cop contacts and the News of the World got nicked. All this story hasn't been told. And the reason why it hasn't been told is people want to get away with phone hacking. Oh, it was all News International, nothing to do with Mirror Group. They listened to Heather frigging Mills's personal bits and bobs, for God's sake. Now, I've tried to help with this. The reason why I fell out with Graham Johnson, God, what was the last reason I fell out? In fact, there wasn't even a last falling out with him. He is just a compulsive liar. All through the summer, I have been dining out with him. I had this conversation with James Hanning this morning. He said, oh, why do you hate Graham so much? And I'm like, pardon me? He told everybody that I threatened him and abused him. And yet all summer, we were dining out in the Ivy. We were dining out with Bruce Goodison from Sky Films at the Picture and Piano. I actually had an awesome time. He's pretty good company. He dipped his spoon in my goddamn cream caramel. I was like, that's lovely. And then proceeded to spoon me some. How is that threatening him? It's like, what the fuck? So much horseshit. And so I am now completely against Johnson. I don't like that going out there. I don't like that being reported online, especially when it's horseshit. I mean, it's just shocking. It's really shocking. I even had it out with Bruce Goodison from, he's doing the thing on Mazza. I said, am I like completely dreaming that we all had dinner and it was so nice? We all sat outside, there were cocktails, and then we moved and we sat in the chairs. And in the end, I didn't go with Sky from the Mazza thing that they were doing. But it was a nice day, and Johnson was there. It's like, I said to Bruce, why is he saying that I threatened him when we all had dinner? And he said, well, I don't know, I'm just keeping out of it. But why does he say that when there's like witnesses? On the dinners in the Ivy, James Hanning was there. Why does he say that when there's other people there? I just don't understand it. It's the beast of Bodmin Moor again. I don't understand his mind. I would like to get inside his mind. In fact, maybe I should do another shamanic journey around that, because I just don't understand. These lies can easily be exposed, but I just haven't got a platform at the moment. Nobody's listening to me. I've been talked about by the BBC, this Sean Moss character who's working for an agenda, I would say working for the Sunday Mirror, to make sure Fiona Whiteman doesn't get her phone hacking payout. Oh, it was Christine. You do that kind of thing, don't you, Christine? Yeah. And so it muddies the water. These people are in the pockets of people. Either that or they're just dumb journalists. I mean, who knows? This guy, Sean Moss, worked out in Belfast. Why then does an English journalist swan in from London and clean up? It took me 5 minutes to become the trusted journalist of the UDA, John White, and the Real IRA. Oh, and the INLA. Where were the journalists in Belfast? What are they, sleeping? I've finished now. I'm sorry I've jumped around in this, and I apologise for that, and I apologise for my anger. I just don't like being a bloody scapegoat, and I don't like dishonesty, and I don't like people suffering like Fiona Whiteman, who is kind of like being raped, what they did to her, and them saying, oh, you just deserve a little payout. No, she deserves what people get when they've been phone hacked. $1 million. What other people have been getting, because it was very intrusive what you did to her. Found out she had cancer and then went and doorstepped her. So what's that? $1 million, 2 million? Anyway, if this carries on, I'm going to release the tape. So this isn't a threat or any kind of blackmail. I'm stating that I'm angry, and this is going to be my next step, unless people get honest. Now, don't bother breaking into my house. They're not here.